I'm really glad you guys are already talking about this, because this is something that I really wanted, that I hoped you guys could share a lot about. Head Cleaner and Just a Party just being really dope parties, especially when things were going. One thing I want to know is, like, what advice do you have for DJs who want to throw their own parties, maybe with specifically in the underground scene? Because we were talking about like the music and kind of organizing the night from a music perspective, but what all goes into it, from the setting up the event, the invites, who you surround yourself with, the promotion, the graphics. Like, can you guys talk a little bit more about like the deeper stuff that maybe other DJs don't understand?
Sure. Start, Christian.
Yeah, and we only did it to like preface like for a year, and I don't want to. I don't have too much of a position of knowledge about it, but just through like what I think we learned in over a year, it's obviously nice to throw your own party because, like we've said before, you get to create your own vibe and your own tastes. And then obviously you're not going to play everyone, but, you know, as like a resident or whatever of that party, you get to play it. But I think a misconception is that it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't think it started costing us much money out of our own pockets until we started booking artists. And that's like a whole nother lane once you get, because you could throw parties with local people. Sometimes I guess, and that's what we did. And I think we were actually more successful before. I mean, we had some successful headlining parties, don't get me wrong, but I think it's definitely a good idea to start just doing local guys, maybe get a guy from like, you know, a city away who's not gonna, you know, charge you an ass load of money. And you can even get guys for like $1,000 or less if you do the right digging. But just networking is key. That's not just with parties. That's, you know, the whole music industry. And that's something that I'm still getting better at. And all the Just a Party guys are, you know, when you're out, you're constantly like, I think Paul would be like talking to like a barista at Starbucks, and he'd be like, "Oh, Just a Party." Hand her like some sort of flyer. You know, like you got to always be on your toes. And even there was times where like I would walk away from a situation and I was like, shit, I should have mentioned it. But you know, you mess up, but yeah, you're like, fuck, and you almost want to run back and say, hey, by the way, we throw parties.
But you know,
and it's the first party is gonna suck, and then the second party is gonna suck, and then like after you do it, you know, 3-4 times, then you learn like, okay, how can we make the production cool? Like, you just got to work with your venue. I think like we started in Cantina, as you guys, I don't know if you guys were at some of our first few parties there.
A bunch of good parties have started at Cantina, right, Crow?
Yeah, man, I think the venue is, and unfortunately like Columbus is lacking 300 to 500 capacities. So it's like, if the Just a Party guys, or we start getting our numbers up to like 200, 300, which we weren't close to 200, but like those are the thing with the venue is like they have a bottom line to make. I'm sure you guys, you know, Mike and James understand that. Like, you can't, as much as you would like to book someone at like Dahlia or, you know, other things, it's like, if they're not going to make their bottom line, then there's no motivation or incentive to do things. So you have to find a venue that is fucking with the vision, you know. Like,
that's cool. Yeah, like if I think the best way to go about it is do like a off the bat, like say, hey, we'll bring people here. I wouldn't say you want to promise them how many people, because if you don't hit that, then you're screwed. But say, hey, listen, like, we want to do this thing. It's going to take us maybe 2 or 3 months to build it. But if you'd work with us, like, approach it as a partnership, not like a business to consumer thing, you know, like, give us a couple months, and then you'll start to, like, both of us can make a lot of money. But you could just do like a simple bar deal. Like, we won't pay you to rent it out, but you'll keep all the money from the bar. Maybe just give us 10% or like even less than that. I don't know. And then you can work from that.
We're also getting into that field where like that zone of conversation where I'm pretty against, I'm not like against, but like if you do want to do something where you have the potential to get like 150, 200 people at your event and like consistently they can spend 10, but like do not undershoot yourself by doing it at a space that like Bossy Girls is a good example where it's like there's maybe 75 capacity. Nobody wants to go dance unless it's on like a chill like weekday thing at Bossy Girls because it's really hard to connect the environment with what you want to do.
Right.
So it's like if you're throwing a club night at a bar and there's no dance floor, like you just have to be conscious of those things, you know.
Absolutely.
But
one thing I want to say to you guys is because I think pre-COVID, it seemed like there was so many different house parties going on. Like Christian, you talked about, you know, how many tech and techno DJs there are around us. There's so many in this city alone. So you wanted to produce and stand out and make your own style. And I think that's great. And then, but also it seemed like there would be conflicting parties all the time too. Like sometimes there would be a big house DJ playing at Scully's or, you know, whatever, Bluestone. And then we're trying to do something at Dahlia. And then there's an underground house party going on this way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not avoidable all the time because, you know, you pick a date and you lock in and you start promoting and then, you know, it is what it is. But how do you combat that? Because I feel like, you know, pre-COVID, that was happening a lot. Do you just like tell those people like just stop by before you go there or like come after? Or
the way Head Cleaner has done it and the way that we learned from like Midwest Fresh was choose a weekend that the need is there and stick to that consistency. And if the venue doesn't work out, try to keep that weekend, try to keep that consistency where it's like, whoa, is it the first weekend of the month? Let's go here. And honestly, like, we're not competing with Scully's. We're not competing with Dahlia. You guys have you're going to have your crowd, you know? There might be a sharing of 50 to 75 people from what I've seen, but like, we're not trying to compete with people who have a massive budget, you know? Right. And that's going to have to be okay in Columbus. Now, if there's two Dirty Bird artists booked by two separate groups, booked on the same night, they need to communicate, you know? But if you're doing something completely separate or completely unique, then it's unavoidable if you have the consistency that you need and the branding and everything. Like you can't, I mean, we never tried to, like, there was in the very beginning where it's like, we chose the first weekend of the month. There was another party going on and we were like, whoa, this is the weekend we have. So we're just going to do it. And we ended up like, you know, it being okay. But like, we weren't going to throw a party on Midwest Fresh night. We weren't going to throw a party on Tilt Shift night. Well, mainly because I was part of both of those things. But like we just have to have, you have to have a weekend, you know, and you have to decide like, when do you want to do it? Saturday or Friday? We've found Saturdays are way better. Fridays are fine. But like,
and on top of that, you know, you talk about the 10 or the, you know, the 4 hours of programming that you get, and it is difficult because we have a lot of house DJ friends that are coming out and they're showing love, and you know, that is how I think you should get an opportunity, is by coming and supporting your friends' events. So how do you juggle that? Like, is there 45-minute sets available? Is it like, do you give them like, no, I promise I got you next time? Like, because I know there's so many young DJs that probably watch this podcast too, that are wondering how to get their first events.
There's
I mean, I'll just like, because I feel like we got a little ahead of like what Mike asked originally, which is like to start from zero. The way I see it is like, show up to events, hang out, meet the promoter, understand if the promoter's at some like, you know, echelon, create something that is good enough for them to notice you. You know, it is saturated now. like a little more saturated than when I came here 6 years ago. I was one of probably, there was old school guys who the promoters I was working with, Squared, they already knew about them. And there was like a very small handful of young people. And then there's the ones that are always just playing with my Best in Party events that they weren't sure that they could transfer over to their event. So my point is, like, show up to the events. If you really want to do this with that style, go to the events, try to help out, move speakers. Like, that's, you know, like, show up early, move speakers. Like, I have a few friends that it's not like they were the best, and it's not like I was the best or am even close, but like, you just show up and you do like the legwork, you know, and help what you want to help promote what you want to see, you know. Like,
last episode we've had DJs, maybe not last episode, maybe it was 2 episodes ago, but just talking about like coming to the events and actually friending people first, and not look like you are trying to get something out of it right away. I think Mike was like, shit, if somebody wants to come help me carry DJ equipment at weddings,
I'll show you everything, bro. I will show you everything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, weddings are like a completely different world, you know, like that's a very, very good way to make money. But it's also like, if you don't want to be a wedding DJ, don't go help make smooth speakers. But
No, don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. You can still come help. I'll show you some.
Mike's like, mute.
Yeah, I'll have a separate set of headphones that they can listen to while the music's playing, and they'll be just fine.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I don't mean to like sound like, because when I started in Toledo, like, I played some fucking wedding gigs with this one DJ, and he'd give me like a portion of his funds. I never talked on the mic, so I would just have to show up and like, and like, there's a lot of bad DJing you have to do, as there's a lot of bad production you have to do before you get to a point where you're like, I should go to an event and try to play in front of people, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, play in front of your friends for hours on end until they hate you, and then just go, or love you, and then try to find what you want to do. Like, it's so simple to me now, where it's like, but it's also under a lot of hours of just like playing gigs I don't necessarily want to do, you know? Like, I've played a ton of gigs where it's like, I am the only house DJ here, but I'm booked because I know the promoter, and that's cool, but like, it wasn't necessarily like appreciated, but I did it, and then I met people, and then maybe they come to my event and maybe they like it, but if not, whatever, you know? So
it's just music.
I agree.
Yeah.
I want to move over. Where can people find you guys, both online and, if at all, in person? I'll start with Nick again.
I mean, online. So I pretty much dropped the Common Cause moniker. I'm not paying attention to it at all on Facebook, and I took it off my Twitter and Instagram. So it's just my Brenner it's just Brenner, my last name, on Facebook. And then I think Instagram, it's like just Brenner, or it might be Common Cause Brenner as my like way to like kind of, you know, jump into that. And then Twitter might also be Common Cause Brenner or something. God,
what's your most used?
Like, I don't even know what my handles are. But
is Facebook the best way to find you?
Yeah, like, I post like most of my stuff on Facebook, like,
okay,
for sure. Like, and my Brenner, and honestly, Head Cleaner too. Like, Head Cleaner will, so Brenner and Head Cleaner. That's the easiest.
But don't contact you on Facebook because your notifications are off and your app is deleted.
No. I mean, if you message me, I will respond, like, for sure. And if we're not friends, I like sometimes check because like, I'm not getting like any, you know, people aren't just like randomly hitting me up. How do you become this person? I feel like that's not me, you know. So just hit me up if you have any questions. Like, I'm totally okay with answering anything I know. So.
Love it.
Christian?
Pretty sure it's just Christian Bistany on everything. I really only use Facebook and Instagram. SoundCloud, same thing, and Spotify. Emails, CHRISTIANBISTANYMUSIC@gmail.com. Yeah, reach out wherever.
Things.
Just keep it.
Do you have plans to come back to Columbus, or?
I guess we'll see what happens with work. Like we were talking earlier before we started, I think back to the office is going to be a very long time. So, I mean, I'll definitely come and visit. Maybe do like some parties there or something. But I'm definitely enjoying New York at the moment.
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's kind of up in the air. I don't know where I'll be. I don't know where I'll be next month. So.
We're going to move over to 614 releases. 614 is the apparel brand that we partner with. They do great work. I'm sure they'll be coming out with some fall and winter things here shortly. I've been checking their page. Haven't seen anything quite yet. But big shout out to 614. We call this 614 releases. And if you are a DJ or producer, you release a track, a mix, let us know so we can feature it. I know Intel released Atlas. I saw that on my Instagram feed. I think Governor's coming out with the track. Yes, he is busy. Yeah, he's in the studio all the time. Love that dude. And then Govin, I know, released a track last Friday for his Bandcamp Fridays. I did not catch the title of it, but you can always head over to GVNR on Facebook, Instagram to check that out. I released a Streamlabs OBS overlay video. So if you want to upgrade your stream overlay and look really, really good, doing it, you can watch that video. I also have a streaming tips that I did earlier in the year, and then I also did an MPC Live 2 review. As most of you guys know, I'm a Machine Plus user now, but I tried out the MPC and I talked about the differences and did a couple workflows, both with finger drumming and with making a quick beat. Krupp, was anything on your release radar this week?
No, nothing.
Cool. Guys, I want to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for being guests. Christian out there in New York, thanks for joining us. And then Nick, all your insight is really appreciated, dude. You know, I've loved the Head Cleaner events. I think I came to the last one I went to was when you featured that Detroit artist who was the turntablist. And yeah, man. And someone like me loves that.
You see him and you're just like, all right, well, time to go practice.
Yeah. 100%. And it was cool because like you could just tell he's done those routines thousands and thousands of times.
But like even in like a new, like he just is like, he's a savant. Like he knows he's the best. He's one of the best DJs in the world, no question.
And then on Christian's, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. And then on Christian's side, Just a Party. My favorite piece of content that you've ever done with that was the Big Bar video with the drone. And some of my favorite DJs were kind of on the list, and it
was a great party.
Great content. Great content.
Party.
James, take us out.
Thank you guys. Stay safe. We hope to get your parties back here. Episode 27. We appreciate it. Thanks to all the DJs that chimed in and joined us. We'll be back next Thursday.
Thank you guys for having us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for being on here, guys. So much good advice.
Have a good one.
Yep. Peace. Take care, everybody.